It is time now for our Common Ground segment. Tonight we discuss bipartisan legislation to overhaul U.S. trade and manufacturing policy with a look towards China. Joining us, Louisiana Republican Senator Bill Cassidy and Colorado Democratic Senator Michael Bennet. Senators, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
First, I want to talk about that act, but with all of the turmoil in the House, I want to kind of get your sense about how that affects things that you all care about, funding the war in Ukraine, for example. Senator Bennet, are you concerned that now that House Speaker McCarthy is no longer Speaker, that changes the dynamic possibly?
When I hear people say that they're running for Speaker contingent on the idea that they're going to defund Ukraine, you know, even though I think a majority of the House and a majority of the Senate, a majority of the American people believe that this is a fight, not just for Ukraine, but a fight for democracy, we have to keep funding it, that really concerns me.
Senator Cassidy, those numbers are going down, especially within your party, as far as funding Ukraine and what that means. The latest Fox poll says when it comes to helping Ukraine fight against Russia, U.S. should be doing more, less, same. More has gone down in recent months. Less has increased. What about your concern about this issue?
61% of the people either say same or more. Let's first say that. Secondly, I think it's important for the administration to say, how much are we going to want? The American people just aren't sure if it's a small bite, a small bite, a small bite. Tell us what you need. Next, I think you got to couple it with doing something about the southern border. We've had 7 million people cross that border since Joe Biden took president. I can tell you Republicans are concerned about that.
But you think Republicans can get their house in order, not to use a pun?
Well, if anybody can predict what's going to happen in the House of Representatives, they should be at the track right now. Okay, so
I think it is really important just to say that Putin is counting on us wearing out. He's counting on us losing patience. We are a democracy. He is, you know, an autocracy.
China might be banking on something similar as far as the U.S. is concerned. That's where your act, America's Act, comes in. Cold War with China highlighted the problem as demonstrated by the COVID-19 supply chain disasters. Our divorce from China, more than a decade in the making, is now a reality. We now know we cannot productively work with China. Your act does what, Senator?
Yeah, our act creates a Western Hemispheric prosperity zone, if you will, which will be good for American workers, give us trading partners in South America. It'll also be good for us all because our idea is to create a system to help weed out the corruption in Latin America. Now, if you can create an investment environment where American companies will go and invest, or European countries, jobs come back from China to go to Latin America, people have a job, and they decide to stay home instead of migrating to the United States.
And there's bipartisan support for this kind of thing.
I think Bill's leadership on this has been incredible. We've had 50 years of Democratic and Republican outsourcing to Southeast Asia and to China. And what we're saying with this bill is it's time to bring that back. And that means reshoring here, nearshoring, you know, in countries that are on our southern border, hopefully growing their economies, hopefully developing a stronger commitment to the rule of law, and giving us the opportunity to compete effectively with China.
We are for de-risking, not decoupling with China.
You know, President Biden says he wants to compete. There are others like Bob Lighthizer, former trade rep, who says we should be decoupling from China. Where are you all?
Well, you talk to the industry leaders, they say it's going to be impossible to completely decouple. Let me give you one example from healthcare. I'm a doctor. Like almost 100% of our penicillins and cephalosporins, all the antibiotics commonly given, are made in China. You're not going to, and all of a sudden, move that someplace else. But you should have some sort of de-risking. There would be a supply of that being made in the United States or someplace else. Now, there will still be a significant supply from China. So I see that as a de-risking and impossible to completely decouple.
And you're both on the Finance Committee. There's obviously concern about mortgage rates, long-term, 30-year fixed rate. There are warning signs about a possible recession. We haven't seen it yet. Are you thinking good, bad things about the economy right now?
Well, I think that when you've got interest rates rising the way they are, you're going to see the economy begin to slow. And that's a reality. I think that we should be considering the depth and the degree to which the Federal Reserve interfered with the economy on the upside here, and now looking at what they're doing, you know, on the potential downside. The reason why I think this bill is so important is it can help deepen our economic prosperity in the region. You know, Bret, Donald Trump drives me crazy. But he had a preternatural sense about this that was right, which is the American people got the short end of the stick. This is an opportunity to change that.
We have done this segment now for a number of months. More and more colleagues, both in the Senate and the House, are coming up and talking about what they're working on. For somebody at home that says that place is just partisan, it's all, divided, what do you say?
Nothing gets passed unless you get 60 votes in the Senate, which means that you get Republicans and Democrats, period. There are some policies which are truly bipartisan. They're not Democrat or Republican, they're American. The fact that we want to create more prosperity for someone in Louisiana and somebody in Colorado could be said about every state.
And Senator Bennett, some people say we're always one election away from solving big things. It seems like there's stuff that is getting done.
And the bipartisan infrastructure bill that we passed is the first substantial infrastructure bill since Eisenhower was president. The CHIPS Act, the first substantial bipartisan bill to bring an industry back to the United States. I think it's important for the Senate to reflect what the founders had in mind, which is that you don't have a monopoly on wisdom and I don't. The wisdom in a democracy is created through our clash, through our different ideas. That's what we've lost.
Well, we're glad you're here. Thanks for coming on Common Ground.
Thanks for having us.